Hi, welcome to our mini-series focused on different aspects of leadership. This mini-series is designed to be short, sharp and thought-provoking. So let's jump into this episode.
Why do you think it's important to talk about managing poor performance at work?
So, good question. It would be great, wouldn't it, if all of our colleagues and team members and individuals who we worked with all were just natural high performers. They knew what they needed to do, they knew how they needed to do it, and they hit the standard that we were asking for them every single time. But that's just not realistic. Even those who are performing very highly most of the time, their performance dips, and therefore we need to do something about that. Sometimes we might have, we've become a leader or a manager of a team, and we've kind of inherited a team and individuals who might be used to performing at a particular level, but that's not quite how you as a leader feel that the team or they should be performing. So therefore we need to step that up. Sometimes with some individuals, there's capability issues. They haven't got the skills or the capability in order to perform at the level that's expected. And sometimes actually just the job is not the right fit for that individual. And we need to, rather than just them struggling along, trying to do something that isn't quite right for them, then we need to sort that out. And I think it's important that we don't ignore it. Sometimes I bump into managers who saying, oh, well, I can't address this. They're just like that. That's how they are. And therefore we just need to sort of carry on in terms of sort of almost ignoring it. And that not only has an impact on you, but it has an impact on them. And it also has an impact on the rest of the team members who turn around and go, well, why a little bit? Well, why should they be able to get away with it just because they're sort of perhaps a bit more difficult to manage? So that's why I think it's important.
What would you say is the most important action a leader can take to manage perceived underperformance at work?
So, in my experience of leading and managing teams and then working with other leaders and managers who manage teams, the most important thing is around clarity of what good looks like. Lots of teams and leaders and managers have not gone through a process with each of the individuals that they have within the team and gone, actually, no, this is what good looks like. I've spoken to many chief execs, and we're talking about their executive team, even at very, very senior levels. You can't just expect people to somehow miraculously inbuilt within themselves is a standard which is going to be acceptable to you. So there's something about what does good look like in terms of what they're producing, okay, and what they're doing. But the other thing, which again sometimes is a bit that's forgotten, is the how. Okay, so how are they behaving? What kind of relationships do they have? What sort of, it's like the sort of, how do they work and behave with colleagues in the work that they do in terms of delivering the output in the role that they actually have?
How can a leader support an individual to improve their performance?
So I think this is where leadership capability really kind of comes to the fore. The standard of what good looks like should be the same for everybody. And remember, that's both the what and the how. But for the leader, you need to be flexible in terms of what you need to do to help and support your individuals to get up to that standard, to rise up to that standard if they're struggling. So that's where you need to have some flexibility. Some people will need support in terms of capability building. Others will need support in terms of behaviours, how they relate to people. Other people might need just a kind of a light touch coaching approach to helping them reach the standards that you're actually requiring them. Others might need really quite intensive work. You might be having sort of really regular, daily or weekly one-to-ones with an individual to help them to be able to push their performance up to that standard. It's a really important part of managing an individual's performance, especially for an individual who's not performing to the required and expected standard. Setting a time frame, creating a time frame that both you as a leader and the individual are comfortable with is part of that actual process. And we're not talking about extended time frames of sort of 6 months or a year. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is a time frame that's realistic and that's manageable, but also that enables you to be able to judge whether that individual has the capability and is developing through the support that you've actually put in place to enable them to reach that required standard. Look at the time frame that you've actually set. Say it's a month, say it's 2 months. Look at not just them achieving the required standard in that particular time frame. Look at the trajectory as they go throughout that time frame. So what you're looking for is change, okay? And that might be in a day, or it might be in a week, it might be in a month. What you're looking for is change and improvement over the course of that particular period. Does that make sense? So it's not just remain flat and then suddenly at the end of 2 months, ta-da, there they go, and they're working at the required standard. What you're looking for is actually improvement, and what you're looking for is for that individual to take on board that development and utilize that development in the work that they're actually doing. And I think, just to finish this bit off around time, I think one of the things that sometimes leaders and managers talk to me is they feel that stepping into this kind of managing to get to expected performance or performance management, some organizations looking at is setting up those sort of stepping into those kind of systems is something that they don't want to do, and they're reluctant to do that. And this, I guess, is where we need a little bit of bravery, okay, from the leader, okay, and a little bit of bravery from the individual actually as well, but also recognition that the aim of this is to improve the performance. That's the aim, okay? The aim is not necessarily to get rid of that individual or to find that they failed. So the aim is to get success. But if at the end of the day, this doesn't work and it isn't quite working, that individual doesn't quite fit and it finds it difficult to reach the sort of standards that you and the organization expects, then the outcome of them going, do you know what, this is not for me, is a positive outcome for everybody, okay? There's no negatives to performance management. There really isn't, because if you've got somebody who's struggling to perform at the standard that is expected, they're going to be unhappy, you're going to be unhappy, your team's going to be unhappy. So actually addressing this, working it through, finding the right solution within the organization, within your team or without, is the right thing to do. So be brave, pluck up the courage and step in to this area of work.
Thank you for listening to this episode in our Leaderline podcast mini-series. To hear more, please check out our website or find us on LinkedIn. Thank you.